USA Today put out the best books of the decade of the 2000s, and I was looking over it, and I wrote it down. So, number 10 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Number 9 is Eclipse. Number 8 is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Number 7 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Number 6 is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Number 5 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone. 4 is New Moon. 3 is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Number 2 is the Da Vinci Code, and number 1 is Twilight. And rating this list, of course I disagree with the Twilight ones as number 1, but it as much as I love Harry Potter, and don't get me wrong, I love Harry Potter. I cannot in good conscience put every Harry Potter book and all the Twilight books on that list and only have the Da Vinci Code on that list as the only non-supernatural book on that list. I didn't agree with that at all, to be honest with you. And I'm a Harry Potter fan. Don't say I'm dissing it, I'm not. But I do not think that all of the books deserve to be on that list and take up all the space. I think that there are other books that have come out this decade that have been as good, if not better, than the Harry Potter series at times. So I made my own list of my views of the top 10. And these are books that I've read. This is my own personal opinion. These are books I've read. If you guys have read better books, let me know, because I would like to read other things sometimes. And at number 10, I put the Da Vinci Code. It came out in 2003. And what I liked about this book, what I liked about this book was because it made people go out and think and research religion. It was the thing that got me to actually read the Bible for the first time, because I wanted to know who Mary Magdalene was. And I found out so many things that I've been taught in Catholic school that really had anything to do with the Bible. And so I liked the Da Vinci Code because it made people go out and discover the truth about what they were supposed to be having faith in. Number 9 is a 2-for-1, because I thought you can't have one without the other. But they're both for number 9. It's the Zombie Survival Guide, which came out in 2003, and World War Z, which came out in 2006. I had to read both of these books for my monster class in college, and I love these 2 books. I love them because they are creative and they're smart. It reminded me a lot of District 9, how they took this science fiction, these aliens abduction, and integrated so much into our society that it just felt natural, like a documentary. And I felt like with these 2 books, they took the zombie genre, took all those Dawn of the Dead, all those zombie movies, and made them real. Like, we had to do a presentation in class saying what we would do if we could, how to survive a zombie attack. And it was just, you put so much thought into it, and you're really thinking, you know, if that happened, this is true. And you can tell the writer really thought about this topic and tried to make it as realistic as possible. He obviously did a lot of research on that, which is why research is important, as you guys all know. Number 8 is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Came out in 2009. Oh my god, from the I think those of you who've seen the Melina and Steph Go to Barnes & Noble's video, you know I loved that book from a long time, and I finally got to read it, and I loved it because there are so many Pride and Prejudice, you know, remakes and continuations where all they really do is make Mr. Darcy a slut and have a bunch of sex in it and try to, you know, risque up the very tuck Jane Austen universe. This book took characters and made it, like, really fun. And for those people who don't think that Jane Austen has, like, a lot of adventure and interest, just brought that into it. I mean, Elizabeth Bennet is already one of the most feminist literary female characters out there, and to have a scene where she lifts up her skirt and kicks Mr. Darcy in the face is just, it was so much fun. I love this book. I've read it several times over. Number 7 is The Sweet Far Thing. It is the 3rd book in the Gemma Doyle trilogy. It came out in 2007. I love this book mainly because it was different. It wasn't anything I expected to happen. It broke all the rules of that traditional happy ending story that I really enjoyed reading it, and it kept me on edge because I didn't know what was going to happen. And what I've always loved about the Gemma Doyle trilogy, and why I recommend it to everyone, is because it was about friendship. You know, there was a love interest in it, there was a love story, but at the core of it, it was a story about these girls who were alone and found, you know, companionship within one another. And I feel like friendship is a topic that you don't see a lot in books. They'll be friends, but it'll be like downgrade compared to the actual relationships in the book. Number 6 is Harry Potter and the Prison of Azkaban. It is my favorite of all the Harry Potter books, and it's also my favorite of all the Harry Potter movies, even though I know that's one of the more controversial ones. What I liked about the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban was it was a mystery story. You know, it had the surprise twist ending. I mean, no one thought Scabbers was going to be Peter Pettigrew. No one, unless you were extremely brilliant and wise. And reading it, I was at the edge of my seat. It brought so much character development and introduces so many characters like Lupin and Sirius Black that continue to be influential in Harry Potter, and I think it was one of her best books. Number 5 is The Secret Life of Bees, which came out in 2002. I mean, this book was just, it was a great read. It had culture, it had all this stuff about family and love, and it was just such a great book, and I really loved it. The movie, not so much. But the book was just wonderful. I think it was one of the best books I've read. That's why it's on my top 5, and I really recommend you guys read it. Number 4 is Kite Runner, which came out in 2003. I don't know why this book was not on USA Today's best books of the decade. It definitely deserves to be there. It's a world that we think we know so much about, but we really don't. We think that we know all about Muslims, Afghanistan, all those kind of things, but we really don't. And this was a book about a look into that culture, into that lifestyle, and it was a page turner. I just couldn't stop reading it. And the movie was decent, but everything in this book was so heartfelt and deep that you really felt sorrow when the characters were sad. You really were in touch with those characters. Number 3 is The Historian, one of the best vampire stories I've read in a long time. I mean, this is something that I think will be a vampire classic, because it is just a smart story about Dracula, and you think you know enough about it, you think you get enough about Dracula, but what I will say about this book is that it requires a certain love of history to read this book. If you're not into history, you'll probably find this exceptionally boring, but if you are and you're willing to take that journey back in time, throughout, back and forth, it is an amazing journey, and I think this is one of the best vampire books I've read. Number 2 is The Lovely Bones. I had to read this book for school, and the first time I heard about it, I was like, I don't want to read a book about a girl that gets raped, and then I read the book, and it blew me away 100%. We had to read in chapters and sections. I couldn't do that. I had to read the whole thing, because once you start, you think you know where it's going to go, but it makes all these twists and turns, and this girl watching her family from heaven, seeing it fall apart because of her death, and knowing who her killer is, and her parents getting so close, it's great. The movie looks like it's going to be amazing, but it's, you know, Peter Jackson, he can't really fuck it up. So I think this definitely should have been on the list for one of the best books. And number 1, in my opinion, the best book of the decade is Let the Right One In. I mean, that book. If you've read that book, you know what I'm talking about. You know, words cannot really describe how great that book is. It has so many little stories in it, and it was a real return to the vampirism that we all know and love. And I think it was one of the strongest vampire novels I've read. I put it even above The Historian. I think Let the Right One In appeals to anyone who has a real, true love for vampires and the horror genre. This was like everything horror fanatics and vampire lovers were waiting for, and it came in Swedish. Now, onto the books I hated, and since we're kind of stretching on time, I'm probably going to end up like putting it into 2 segments. So tune in to the next video for the 5 books I hated the most this year. Cheers.